The Big Texas Rally for Recovery is coming to Abilene, Texas with a 5K run. I'm Louisa Parson, Warrior Priest, and I'll be one of your vendors at the event. So I'm hoping to see you. Quote of the day: have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it. Salvador Dali. What I'm doing right now is doing some designing, but actually some revision of a previous course that I did 2 years ago. So, in designing and revising a course, faculty must consider what material to teach and how to teach it. Here you'll see I do mapping, and you'll see designing and revising is my key points. And there you go. Some jumping on designing and some revising to get your attention for the course. I do give credit where credit's due, so pay attention. My resource is Tools for Teaching, 2nd edition by Barbara Gross Davis. Some notes about the 2nd edition. You see the ISBN in front of you. Page count 608. It was published July 17, 2009. You'll see the publisher, Wiley, and the author, Barbara Gross Davis. Part 1, we're getting underway. In the killer video, Eminem says 5, 10, 15, 20. So one favor does accept contributions. To begin, we're looking at a note from the publisher. And what I see are the words practical, accessible, reference manual, faculty, and discipline. Any discipline to be exact. So I'm going to unpack this as a lesson. And you will see on the next slide how I did this, just in thought, practical, accessible, reference manual, and I gave it a number scheme. But then, here in contemplation, I've altered it for my lesson. When I start a project, I need to know my why. I need to know the reason why I'm doing this. For this project, I'm a recovery ambassador that was trained at a Big Texas rally in 2016. I use Hazelden products. I love them, and I've also been in one of their meditation books, Leave No One Behind. I believe in timestamps, and I like to record the days of the year. So today is day 251 of calendar year 2023, and today is September 8th, 2023, Friday. And I bring this up because of what happened at 6 p.m. I made this infographic yesterday just as a reminder of a checklist that was from a bookmark. And I took 5 of the 9, be positive, and about when I got out of the shower, I didn't know if I needed to go to a meeting tonight. My GERD was acting up, and I wasn't very positive. This is a Twisted Wears canvas bag that I carry around. It has all my highlighters and things that I do to study with. And this is just a reminder that I'm twisted. um, my alcoholic thinking can come at any moment. And when I'm agitated, I really have to pause and just sit with that feeling. Not really do anything about it. In mindfulness practice, it's just, feel it. And so while I was debating whether to go to a meeting or not, you know, a phone call came. So when I looked at my phone screen and saw who it was, I was I was surprised, and I had to immediately practice forgiveness to answer the call. And the only reason that I was able to do it is, during this week, I have created a global community with all sorts of people in various professions to look at relationship, like in a connection. And so I had so many different perspectives that were going through my head at one time in order for me to take that call. Emmett Fox, in one of his meditations, said, thoughts are things. And I've been learning Python this past week, and Alex Becker says, don't drink, learn Python. To do Python, I have been reading a lot of articles to understand how Python works, with web development, how it pulls variables, and we can simplify it, just thought, and assigning a variable to it. So this popped up as one of my variables. So I do a lot of studying on my phone, so you can imagine the scrolling that I do. And I don't clear my history because a lot of times I forget to bookmark, and I might remember an article by just a title. And this one is about ghosting, and it talks about ghosting being a normal experience today. And I always thought that ghosting was an attack on me personally. However, we do it as humans in this time, and I'm sure it was done before. However, we have this way of just evading. So, in my mind, more scrolling. Another article that came to mind. This situation, if I was taking it from a manager perspective, because this person was calling to apologize for his behavior, compassion was needed versus tough love. And this article talks about someone being so nervous in front of a lead surgeon that he sweated. He was sweating, and his sweat dropped into an area of the body and could, cause contamination. And the surgeon's response was to kick him out of the OR. So this talks about different doctors' opinion on what they would have done in that situation, because this person, this resident, I mean, was crying in the parking lot, just in extreme tears for the rejection from the lead surgeon. So in this article, they talk about, you know, let's have some compassion in OR and allow people to make mistakes, but have correction on why, especially to a resident, to reiterate the fact what was going on, but extend some grace. And I was not able to extend grace to my son this week. I want to talk a little bit about God's timing because I was at a therapy appointment today and we played this out about what, with my GERD symptoms, what produces that GERD. And and is the GERD, does it trigger me into drinking or is there something else? And I talked more about just the memory of having acid reflux when I was younger. And, it might have been a symptom of drinking, but there was always a thought that would get my acid going up my esophagus. So, this is one of the things, romantic relationships. I'm going to be clear. My romantic relationships did not align with my thoughts, the fairy tales, from from German fairy tales. Um, how my romantic relationships played out was totally different than that. So let me be clear again. I'm thinking, here's a German in front of me, born in Berlin. We've been friends, over 3 years. Great friendship. Could this be the one? Could I have finally my German fairy tale? And from day one, I realized, oh no, like from this article, romantic relationships are a stronger predictor of mental health. This person did not have romantic relationships, and I was trying to communicate that. But he wanted to try. And what do you do with that? There was an age difference, but that was no excuse because, my second marriage, I was 14 years younger than my husband. So, do I extend grace at the risk of being disappointed? Well, I was disappointed. Here's my why. We come back to the why. Um, he would not have made the cut. He didn't make the cut with my son. And because of this, meet the parents. How would this German fit into the schema of the Williams family? It's like it wouldn't have happened. It was, this was a true German fairy tale. It's like, no. And, but you get lovesick and the practical just leaves. And I bring up Seneca the Younger and, one on Stoicism. And this is what I have to realize. My father is a Stoic. I didn't know he was until I read an article on some habits that make someone stoic, and I did not realize my dad practices stoicism and he has all his life. And I did, and now in stoicism with Seneca the younger, he brought forth daily reflection at night in order to be able to sleep. Well, I never understood why my dad and everybody in the household could sleep so well, but for some reason I couldn't sleep. And I was living in a family of Stoics, and I couldn't adapt to that. Now, after many years of being away from my family, I have become Stoic just from my lived experience. However, I was so resilient to that frame of thinking, and I don't know why, that it took so many years to understand the circle of trust, to be able to trust your family enough to tell the truth. And from a very young age, I didn't practice the circle of trust. So let me be clear even deeper. Another why. Why I couldn't participate in the circle of trust with my family, because way deep down inside, I knew there was something different about me, the way I thought about things. When I was in high school, I I used to read true crime magazines, and what I wasn't afraid of the killer. What I was afraid of is I could do that. I sympathize, and knowing that I had that sympathy, why would I sympathize with a killer at such a young age? I didn't understand that it was in my bloodline to be a killer. My grandfather was a Japanese officer in World War II, and I didn't have any history about my mother's side of the family, yet it was in my blood. And I was very confused by that, and I couldn't sleep at night after reading, watching late night TV, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, just all this inspecting the mind, someone's personality. And I forever held that a secret and kept myself out of a circle of trust. Yet I found competition soothed it, and the goal I had was to be in the military because I knew I could kill, just to be quite honest. And I knew that I had the capacity to do, and I wanted to be trained for it. So, yes, I knew. All right, now let's go even deeper still, um, I got pregnant my senior year of high school, which kept me from going to the Air Force Academy, which was my dream. And it was just a mistake. I had unprotected sex with a defensive end from Iowa Park, Texas, that I met. He was a cook at Sonic Drive-In, and I was a car hop. And um, like I said, I had gotten rebellious. Something happened that fall, and I ended up leaving um, ROTC, and I took weightlifting, and as a PE elective, and I got my first job. And so all that discipline that I had towards going toward the Air Force Academy, I just gave up. I gave up my dream, and um, I met a guy that rode a motorcycle and allowed me to throw it all away. But I was 17. Yeah, she's only 17, right? So, and so he introduced music to me. One of the first tapes I had is Got Any Gum. And so I was exposed to Joe Walsh. And the first song on there was Radio Song. And it exposed me to Wolfman Jack, DJ. And I just had a different thought pattern. And so, I was exposed to Pink Floyd's album, Momentary Lapse of Reason. And so all these lyrics were new to me, and I did not know how to process those feelings. And I trusted basically a pothead to navigate me through feelings. And these feelings were, of course, hormone induced. And I didn't realize that I had a tendency to, with all my childbirths, four, but I did have an abortion on my second son. Before I went into the military, I had to choose one son. I had to choose a good life for my firstborn, and sacrifice my second son in order to enter the military. And I entered the Navy. And so while I was in boot camp, I was trying to process these feelings, and I covered it up with competition. And and so there was a study right after boot camp while I was in electronics school. I was picked up for a study on to use a gaming GUI system for missile launch. And it was laid out like Missile Command. So I was very good at that game in high school. And so when they watched me launch missiles so accurately and press the button without pausing, I wasn't selected for that program because I never paused before pressing the button. I just did it so instinctually. So, I still do believe to this day that that guilt that I had from my abortion turned into an anger that made me seek competition, seek excellence so more to compensate for that guilt that I had. And so my military career, I was very, very, very successful. I was awarded Seller of the Quarter during a med cruise. I was that successful. I tried everything to alleviate my guilt, and my my first husband was a big fan of um, animation um, with adult subjects, and so I watched him watch The Simpsons and everything, and then South Park came to the scene, and what got me was, as you can see here, oh my God, they killed Kenny. And that hit me so much to the core with the abortion. And so, however, it was enough from a like a human standpoint. A 17-year-old girl, you know, kills a child, and it's a mistake. You know, I didn't have, my prefrontal cortex was not developed, and I had these thoughts in my mind of being different, about being sympathetic, about um can't even, I mean, it was murder. I'm not going to deny it. And in these days, this time especially, it is murder. During that time, it wasn't. And however, my first son, I had to have the consent of of his father, and he did not give consent. But on the second one, for me to be going to the military, we did go to his grandmother in order to pay for it, and she was sympathetic, considering the circumstance. So this was not. I mean, there were people involved, but all of us were basically self-seeking, and we did not want to live in poverty, and we were able to blame this fetus. It's really very sad, the thought process behind that, but it did happen. So, what saved me from that rumination? It it was a movie, The Men in Black, Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, and one more time, lyrics reframe my thought pattern, and these are the lyrics that did it. Um, the good guys dress in black, remember that, just in case we ever face to face and make contact. The title held by me, MIB, means what you think you saw, you did not see. And with that in mind, it was enough to give me some sense of peace searching for this concept of the men in black. And at my lowest moment in my drinking, two 18-year-old boys showed up dressed in black suits, and they were LDS, Latter-day Saint missionaries. And I needed that so much. I needed to believe in the men in black that I was able to be baptized. I was able to quit drinking first on March 12th, 2006 in Killeen, Texas. And right around the corner was a meeting hall. And I started, in Abilene, I had started my lessons with the LDS, and I put a pause on it when they told me, because I thought I was going to go to Utah, so I was like packing. And they said, no, you stay here. And I'm like, why would I get baptized and stay here? So I jetted to Killeen, Texas, where my brother was stationed at then Fort Hood. It's a different name now. And um, and I found more LDS missionaries. And so I was able to go in front of a mission president and confess my abortion. And he said it was a mistake. And he allowed me to be baptized on June 1st, 2006, several months after me getting sober. And I had to give up smoking to do it. And that's when I needed the belief in the men in black. And I was baptized June 1st, 2006. And June 1st was my wedding anniversary. So it allowed me some peace. And I go through all of these whys to show the many paths to spirituality that just started, more seeking. And it seems like for me, every year, every year, my God concept gets stronger. Cancer was a hard one to get, and I was not active with the Latter-day Saints because I was active in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I thought I had to choose. And because at that time, they had an addiction recovery program, and I could not put all of my eggs in one basket. I had to have many paths to spirituality. And recently with the cancer, I surrendered to win. But with the book Breathing Underwater by Spirituality in the 12 Steps, and listening to Richard Rohr doing his Radical Grace daily meditations, I just come to the point where I'm a mystic from the time that I was a little kid, which maybe one more time, it's in my bloodline. I'm Welsh. I'm very Welsh. So, Mark Batterson was able to open me back to mysticism, crack the door with the book, The Wild Goose Chase. And then C.S. Lewis with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I've just been doing a little booklet just on Aslan and 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 Richard Rohr just put the cherry on top. So I hope this lesson, you know, I wanted to get into all the whys, why I'm a recovery ambassador, why it fits for me. Um, and, I signed up not knowing these things, but in celebration for using Hazelden's pamphlet or booklet called Living with Yourself, a workbook for steps 4 through 7, a guide to the big book's design for living with yourself. I telling my story. The reason why I'm telling my story a little deeper is I want that deeper experience that's guaranteed to me on page 75 of the big book. It says, we pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of cactus. Remember, remember my bag. um, every dark cranny of the past. And I feel okay with that today because I believe it's going to help somebody else. And once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, as I know of today, I'm withholding nothing. We are delighted. And that's what I want to be today. That happy life, delighted life. We can look the world in the eye. Thank goodness I can do that today. And we can be alone at perfect peace and ease. I'm sitting right here alone. Well, I have 2 dogs, but they're peaceful because I'm peaceful today. Our fears fall from us, and that's the biggest thing, that, we are as sick as our secrets. Just the fear that somebody will know. And there's so much freedom in just doing my story. I don't have to do it in front an audience of AAers, or I don't have to do this on a stage. That's what's so valuable about just making this little video lesson. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. Oh my goodness, that is bingo. To be near to the personages that created me. I I just need that so much today. I just need to be by my Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. And each one I have, a woman used to talk so much about the sunlight of the spirit and aha moments. And that is what I'm going after. I am not after accolades for my moral behavior. I'm like, you're good, girl. It's like, I beg to differ. But that's the humility of all of this. I am human. So God takes me, all of me, good and bad. And that's so peaceful to sit here and feel that blessing of humility before my Creator. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. Yes, it's like, yeah, like this whole thing with the GERD. I mean, we're talking my esophagus, but I've been struggling with this since my 20s, right? And for a time, you know, sometimes I would have a burning sensation, right? Like at the back of my throat, but I never um, imagined that it would take my voice, that I would get laryngitis from it. So it's like, you know, so, Friday, September 15th, we're going in there. We're going, both ends and seeing what's going on. What's going on? and and we feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. And, and I still have that belief in the Men in Black Galaxy Defenders, right? And, maybe they're not perfect as well. And I'm trying to digest that. But until I do, I have boundaries, and I've chosen to be at another church where I can do what I do and not feel judged. So that's the skinny of it. I hope you enjoyed just, the process of the practical. Looking at Seneca the Younger, I'm just doing this so I can go to sleep. It's, 12:28. And I have to get ready for the rally. Be there around 9. Around 9ish. I'm not doing the 5K. So, um, I just want to go to sleep, man. See you on the flip side. In fundraising efforts to continue what I do in community, my logo is $20 is $20, but $30 is $10 more. So, if you liked what I offered, please make a donation. However, realize that your donation is to community.